Welcome to this CKPG News special on the Frontlines. My name is Adam Burles and thank you for joining us. We will be looking at the complexities and duties of a Prince George Bylaw Officer. Now, the Prince George Bylaw Officer Services Unit is a complex one. There are many roles and responsibilities that officers have in their unit, but you may not know what all of them are. It's more than just simply going to a complaint and responding. There are many workers in this unit that have a wide variety of roles. There are outreach workers, for example, who help individuals on the street deal with complex issues that they are going through at the time. And then there are other bylaw officers which simply go out and respond to calls, maybe a neighborhood complaint, somebody's snow has gone into their yard, for example. So there are a lot of different tasks and complexities within the Bylaw Services Unit. We spoke to the manager of Bylaw Services to see her role in the whole organization, and we also spoke to an outreach worker. Now, outreach workers are crucial to the Prince George Bylaw Services Unit because they are on the front lines dealing with our complex issues in the downtown and the city itself. So these outreach workers are key and vital to helping people when they are in need the most. Join us as we take a look at these issues because there are a lot of them. This is how a bylaw officer and outreach coordinator with the City of Prince George starts their day. After this, their shift is anything but certain, and a day in the life of a city bylaw officer and outreach coordinator is never the same. Outreach coordinators are responsible for connecting the unsheltered homeless with health and social services, including safe and supportive housing. The staff works closely with bylaw services officers, but an important distinction is that they are not bylaw officers. These outreach workers' positions were almost under threat during the city's budget process at the start of 2024. A motion to cut the budgets for 2 outreach workers from the bylaw services budget was debated. Councillor Kyle Sampson saying those positions needed to be funded by the province as part of a memorandum of understanding signed with the province in May of 2023. Council opted to keep the 2 positions and lobby the province for funds. Manager of Bylaw Services, Charlotte Peters, does not understate the importance of the outreach workers.
We have a lot of vulnerable folks who are on the streets each and every day, who we can have contact with and help hook them up with services. But what's important to remember is outreach doesn't just work in the downtown. They will also go outside of the downtown and work with individuals who have had issues that we might come across, and they might need a bit of a hand as well. So I think it's really important for us because we see everything from soup to nuts. So it's important that we have that human element, and we're not seen as just an enforcement group.
Peters noted before the outreach program was added, bylaw officers within the city faced scrutiny and pushback from the public over their roles. With the addition of outreach, it has changed the persona and public image of what bylaw services is and what their functions are.
I think for the most part, bylaw officers really enjoy having the outreach element. I think before outreach was added, they were getting a lot of pushback from people. Now that outreach is there, it's a kinder, gentler sort of bylaw approach.
We spent the day with Connor and Danielle, 2 workers within the city's Bylaw Services Unit. Connor is a bylaw officer and Danielle is an outreach coordinator. Danielle has been a part of the outreach coordinator program within Bylaw Services from the ground up, back when it was just a pilot program in 2021. It was made a permanent program after the 1-year pilot program ended in 2022.
I have had the privilege of being a part of the pilot project for the city, and then now we are a permanent fixture within the city. And I get the privilege of working alongside bylaw, liaisoning some of the unhoused with bylaw, RCMP, and other medical services and resources in town.
After leaving City Hall, Connor and Danielle head to Canada Games Plaza. The plaza is a known location where some members of Prince George's unhoused population congregate. Connor and Danielle go and check on the individuals to make sure that they are doing okay and if they need anything like assistance or help. Through her role as an outreach coordinator, Danielle has access to a number of services and organizations throughout the city to be able to help individuals should they want it. A major part of Danielle's role is being able to connect with individuals, as she will likely see the same person multiple times a week while on shift. Danielle will also see new faces, and being able to make connections and garner trust with those individuals is crucial.
I love the aspect of every day is a new day. You meet new individuals every day. The really cool thing is if you actually have the time to sit and talk to people everyone has a new story. Everyone has a different story. Everyone has a different, walk of life, why they're here. And when you take a chance to actually listen to them, you can kind of get to the core of, what are their maybe struggles, what are they looking for next, where they're trying to get to, and we can appropriately send them to the right resource or call the right person next.
After checking in on the individuals in Canada Games Plaza, Connor and Danielle head back to the truck. The individuals indicated to them that they didn't need any assistance, and now Danielle will make a call back to dispatch at City Hall to report that they checked in on these individuals and a file will be updated in their computer system. These types of interactions with the public are commonplace for bylaw officers and outreach coordinators, but with each interaction there are a lot of unknowns with each separate interaction. No one interaction is the same. They may not know the individuals or how the individuals will react to their presence. With the individuals in the plaza, it's business as usual. No trouble, no altercation, just a routine checkup.
I'm just going to update our file that we attended. That would be, it was 3 males, 1 female, and 1 dog?
Yes. And then
Both bylaw and outreach deal with individuals who are dealing with challenges in their lives. Whether it be homelessness, poverty, drug addiction, or mental health issues, our bylaw officers and outreach coordinators are first-hand witnesses and are often the first to respond to help people in need. Outreach coordinators can direct people in need to supports or resources that they may benefit from, and training has allowed Danielle to be able to make individuals feel like they're not forgotten.
If you see somebody that is looking a little bit solemn, usually it's somebody who is by themselves. There's not, I like to think that there is community, within groups. So for me, I really, really like to hone in on individuals who are hanging out by themselves, secluding themselves, because they seem to be the ones that kind of go missed, or they're hanging out by themselves and in an opportunity to overdose on their own as well. So we really need to be looking out for those folks who are hanging out by themselves, because they just seem to go under the rug. They kind of get forgotten about when they're by themselves.
Coming up next, bylaw deals with much more difficult and challenging situations than just simple neighborhood complaints.
I have a gentleman who is in need of some assistance. We're just in the alley of the Twisted Cork and Birch and Boar. He's fallen down and he's a little bit intoxicated and needs help getting into a shelter.
While spending the day with Connor and Danielle during their patrol, they come across an individual in a back alley. They immediately make contact with the individual to make sure that he's doing okay. Danielle recognizes the individual from previous patrols, and that is where her experience comes to light when assisting someone in a time of need. She's a familiar face when someone is experiencing challenges in their life. After coming across this specific individual in the back alley near Birch and Boar, they determine that he has fallen down and has been in the alley overnight. After finding out some more information from the individual, Danielle makes a call to arrange for help from a community organization to help him get on his feet and bring him to a shelter.
Awesome. Okay, about 10 minutes. Okay, I will let him know. Thank you so much. I'll wait here.
This type of situation is nothing out of the ordinary for bylaw and outreach, as workers deal with this on a daily basis, but the individual's circumstance is always different. No one situation is the same. What led the individual to be in that situation and where they are in need of help is always different, and this is where Danielle and Connor's training comes into effect.
All right, bud, let's get you in the front seat here.
Darling, your change? We're not taking our hot drink with us. We're getting you in the car.
All right, bud.
Which side is it? Oh, okay, that's still cool.
Are we done?
It's up to you, Ryan. Totally up to you. You're the driver.
All right, bud.
We're giving you a ride. We're gonna get you somewhere safer. There you go, there you go.
When speaking with Danielle about her ability to connect with individuals one-on-one and remember those individuals and recognize faces and names, and with her job, she makes it a point to not overwhelm people when she is communicating with them.
I'm fortunate enough to not have my own lived experience, but I do know many who have. I know lots of people who have lived experience and have now worked their way up into the working field themselves. For outreach, it's just a matter of seeing familiar faces for a lot of people too. They know that there is going to be, Danielle's going to be there tomorrow, or somebody from one of the other shelters. There's a consistency. They can recognize the faces, they know your name, or maybe even just you learning their name. It makes a big difference for people just actually getting to know them and not, numbering stats and things like that. So I think that familiar faces, the same outreach workers, even if you're new, just really making a point to get to know people and learn their names and teach them about yourself, then I think that's what's really important in our community.
Another part of Connor and Danielle's day is simply patrolling the streets. Driving around in the truck can only do so much, and being on the ground is very important. It's not just being out on the sidewalk in front of businesses downtown, it's going through back alleys, checking nooks and crannies, and keeping an eye out for any situation, whether it's someone that's fallen on the ground and has spent the night in the alley, or it's potentially coming across someone that has overdosed. They have to be on alert all the time because they never know what the next situation they come across will be. For Danielle, how she measures her success after a day on the job may bring a smile to your face.
Working downtown for the 10 years now that I've been working downtown within other organizations and within the city, I've learned to measure my success very differently than, say, when I first came downtown. I say, if I can make one person smile today, then I've done my job. There's a lot of misery, there's a lot of heartache downtown, and we're not in a position to judge, we're not in a position to assume. If I can turn somebody's bad day into a smile, then that's where I measure my success, and that's where I, leave happier at the end of the day, because I know that I'm one person. I'm not going to be able to solve all their issues or maybe even solve anything, but if I can leave them happier, then that's what I really like about the job.
Small cog in a big wheel.
Yeah.
Recently, Danielle switched roles, working in a bylaw position over the summer, similar to the position that Connor works on a regular basis. Even with her being cemented in her role as outreach, perception of her changed when she put on the vest in an instant.
I got an opportunity to work in a bylaw position this summer as well, and I really thought that I would be the exception to the rule of, I've done outreach for so long, I have a good rapport with individuals on the street. I put on the vest and I really learned rapidly that uniform and vest is very, very triggering for folks. No longer was I Danielle in outreach, I was bylaw. I didn't even have a name anymore. So it became very evident to me that in an outreach role, the vest, the baton, the security gear, unfortunately is very triggering for folks. And I just always put myself in a position, I observe before I approach. If I think that it might be a little bit concerning for me, I just probably will stay away, or I'll talk to them from the vehicle, or I'll inquire for bylaw to attend with me, things like that. But definitely within my outreach role, I've done a lot of de-escalation training and mental health training, and just really the approach of talking to people and asking questions rather than harping on people is really the difference, I think.
When interacting with individuals, whether it's in the downtown or if it's in another part of the city of Prince George, the simple things can make a huge difference in a person's day. Danielle says that when talking to individuals like a friend or a family member, that makes a huge difference, and much more than you might think.
People enjoy when somebody says good morning to them. Oftentimes they already feel very low on themselves. They don't feel like an important part of society. They don't feel worth anything necessarily. Sometimes somebody saying good morning to them is a really big deal, and oftentimes people don't even realize that you're talking to them because they're just not used to it. They're not used to being treated like a human being. So first and foremost, treat the individual that you're seeing walking on the street like your friend, like your family member. Everyone can always be like one step away from that point, and that's kind of the thing, like if you think about it, a paycheck might not come tomorrow. What kind of a position are you in? You might have family and friends to lean on, but in some circumstances people didn't, and that's where they fell down, and we just don't know that. So it makes a big difference just talking to people, treating them like a human being, treating them like you would anybody.
When we return, we head to a different part of the city during our day with City Bylaw and Outreach, and we learn more about where the limits are when it comes to bylaw enforcement.
We try and keep ourselves out of neighborhood disputes and really limit what we do to actually things that are contraventions of bylaws, because I think a lot of people expect that if their neighbor's doing something that they don't like, we will come and solve it. Well, that's not the case.
We have spent the majority of this special so far in the downtown core of Prince George, but Bylaw and Outreach is not limited to just patrolling in the downtown. Bylaw's reach expands the entire city, and with a team of 21 people, there is a lot of ground to cover. A bylaw officer cannot expect to be in just one area of the city during their entire patrol, which starts at 7 in the morning and ends at 11 at night. During our time with Connor and Danielle, they head to a property outside of the downtown core, and this particular property is known to Bylaw as an unsightly property. And both Connor and Danielle will check the perimeter of the property to make sure that first, no one is squatting on the premises, and two, that there are no individuals that need assistance.
We might have to follow up with the neighbors just because there's a tree that's kind of growing through the fence that might be an issue.
This type of scenario is also common for Bylaw, but another part of their day is also responding to complaints made by residents.
We encompass parking, we have animal control, we have downtown bylaws, and then we have a team of bylaws that work outside of downtown as well. So everything from, I don't know, my neighbor in the wintertime, we get lots, my neighbor's shoveling his driveway and putting his snow on my driveway. I'd love to tell people to wait 10 minutes and it'll probably melt. But sometimes people want an immediate response. We have lots of folks who will complain because somebody parks in front of their house. We find ourselves explaining that it's a public street and people are actually allowed to park in front of your house. All sorts of different things, leaves falling over somebody's fence, maybe dangerous branches that they feel need to be cut and they're not sure what they do. My neighbor isn't maintaining his fence as I think he should. So all sorts of things. We try and keep ourselves out of neighborhood disputes and really limit what we do to actually things that are contraventions of bylaws, because I think a lot of people expect that if their neighbor's doing something that they don't like, we will come and solve it. Well, that's not the case. We always encourage people to work together with their neighbors, speak to their neighbors, try and get to know their neighbors, and try and solve things at the lowest level before we come in. And again, unless it is a bylaw contravention, we're not coming in at all.
Manager of Bylaw Services Charlotte Peters says that when it comes to the risk that bylaw officers face, there is almost more risks for the officers that work outside of the downtown.
When we're looking at the bylaw officers that are working outside of downtown, there's almost more risk in that because they're sometimes going to houses and they're not sure of what they're walking into. A lot of times, I know at the end we filmed what we would term as an unsightly property. And that's something that you would go to because you get a complaint, but you don't know what you're going to find when you get there. And you wonder, well, what's the reason why the grass is overgrown? What's the reason why the windows are boarded up? And then you may come to a place where the boards have been taken off and you might find a group of individuals inside. So there's risk all over the city. So we have a policy where they don't work alone.
Danielle hopes that the outreach unit will continue to grow because, as we have seen, the need is great and outreach coordinators do a difficult job that often goes unnoticed.
I'm really excited, hoping that our outreach team is going to be growing. We're going to have more than just myself. So what I really would like for people to remember is that you can call 311, you can put in a service request to bylaw, but you can also request for outreach. If you don't think that there's any, say, bylaw infractions, but maybe you see somebody crying, maybe you see individuals with a dog, just somebody that might need help. So maybe they set up a tent near your home, something like that. We can always have outreach come. I can always bring a bylaw with me. I can always bring another agency with me as well. And I can always be that little in-between to kind of ease into the next step, you know, like let's see where we can get you next before we have to call reinforcements, or, you know, what's the situation? Do you just need a ride somewhere with all your stuff, right? Sometimes it's a really simple fix, and outreach is just a really, really easy in between for that.
And education can make a difference in making the public aware of when they should call bylaw and when they should call 911.
The biggest difference for calling 911 is if you fear for your personal safety, or you see somebody is being hurt, or you're worried that somebody is going to end up in a really bad spot, or you know what you're observing is a criminal activity, call 911. If it's a traffic violation, if you see a dirt bike or something racing down your street, bylaws have no ability to stop a moving vehicle. So that's a police call. People have an expectation that because they pay taxes, we are there to cater to their every want and need. And that's absolutely not the case. I mean, people pay taxes because they have a toilet that flushes and a garbage can that disappears once a week, and all the other city services that go along with that. But injecting ourselves into people's business and people's relationships with their neighbors is not something that we want to do, and can become a nuisance. We do have nuisance bylaws that in extreme cases we will look at, but for the most part we try and just convince people that most of these problems they can look after themselves.
There is no question that our city here in Prince George is facing issues, complex, difficult, hard to grasp issues that many of us don't witness on a daily basis. What bylaw officers see and do on a daily basis, many of us in the lay public simply don't know what they do. You may not even know how many bylaw officers were in the actual unit, 21 individuals, which is actually quite a large force compared to other cities. But when it comes to the tasks that bylaw officers do on a daily basis, you saw Danielle, an outreach worker who is connecting, helping people on a daily basis, helping people on the street that needed help. And the thing with Danielle is that people trust her. When individuals are in need of help or they need call 311, they call for help, they see Danielle in the white truck that says bylaw services on it, they recognize her, and more importantly, they trust her. And building that trust is key to helping fix some of the issues that are facing our downtown and our city at large. There is no question that the outreach support unit won't be able to fix all of the problems. No one is saying that they can. But with those tools and with other tools that the outreach support unit and that the bylaw services unit has at their disposal, more people have the opportunity to get help. And that's the most important thing when it comes to dealing with people on a daily basis in our downtown. But the bylaw services, they also deal with other aspects of our city, dealing with those small neighborhood complaints, dealing with parking, animal control. There's no question that the burden and the load that this unit faces on a daily basis is large, particularly when it comes to call volumes. These people are busy on a daily basis, and now you know what happens in a life of a bylaw officer, which is more than just handing out tickets. I'm Adam Burrows. Thank you for joining us for the CKPG News Special.